today we have Mr. Rohit Agarwal with us. He's the founder of Alpha Seegus.
So we use a term called as social currency.
Sole founder in Alpha Seegus, and then we're 3 founders in BlueFort, right? So on that front, we're very different.
Right.
When you're starting out, whether you have someone who you can work with, you don't want to have a co-founder just for the sake of it.
Right now, we still have that child.
Right.
How would it be to just crash a train into a wall? How would it be to crash like a car into this? We all did that, and he's making that a reality.
Right.
Which is why everybody is watching it.
I think one of the biggest this knowledge gap that exists is because people think that because liquidity chahiye hai.
Things have changed a lot from what they used to be 5 years ago, from what our parents' generation is to things are right now.
Understanding as to where do you think marketing and advertising is heading now?
Do I need to pick up funding in order to grow?
Welcome to another episode of the BlueFort Blueprint. Today we're doing things a little bit differently. Instead of talking about our central theme of finance like always, we're talking about entrepreneurship. As you can see, we're also sitting in a different space. And today we have Mr. Rohit Agarwal with us. He's the founder of Alpha Seegus. Apart from being a personal friend, he also owns one of India's fastest advertising and marketing agencies in the space of tech and gaming. Thanks a lot, dear Rohit, for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you for giving us this beautiful space of yours to record.
You are promoting my space at the start of the video, nothing better than that.
Yeah. So today your journey is really inspiring. Just before recording this, we were talking to you about how you started this whole company of yours.
Correct.
Because you brought on a really interesting point that you were into science, and typically, I think you were also mentioned before we started shooting that you studied engineering, right? For somebody who's doing engineering to coming into marketing, which is all about people, is a very very difficult transition. It's not easy. Because typically engineering, you think about वो 3 Idiots में कौन था वो?
Rancho.
नहीं Rancho नहीं यार.
Virus.
Virus. Not even virus. Yeah. The last where he comes for that pen. Chatur. You think about people like those.
Right.
And you can see even in the movie, he never learns people skills at all. Right. So a lot of engineers are like that. So how did you, sort of put yourself, how did you make that decision? Not a lot of people can do that. Yeah.
So what happened was during college times, I think I was more of a non-engineering student than an engineering student.
So you were in the wrong space only then.
But see, I academically things were going fine. There was no
The chemistry topper, by the way. I think chemistry or physics in school. Yeah.
So academically there was nothing to complain about. But in terms of whether it was attending lectures, whether it was just going about the whole day, I behaved more like a UPG person or a Mitivai person than a DJ Sangeet person for that matter. Okay. My one main turning point happened is when so every college used to have these site visits, like industrial visits.
Correct.
Where you go to companies or industries related to your space, and you get a very hands-on experience ke kya hota hai idhar, kaise hota hai idhar and all. So I went to one of these companies, I won't name the company, but a very prominent company in the chemical engineering space. I went there and I was speaking to a manager over there. And I'm like, hey, nice, sir. Like, I would want to be where you are. Like, it's a great company and great position and everything. Now, that guy, throughout the whole conversation, he was picking up on the idea that I have slightly better soft skills than a lot of my fellow engineering students and all. And he gave me a very big red flag at the moment that, listen, no wrong intentions towards the engineering field, but soft skills is the most valuable skill in the world.
Yeah.
To think about it, right?
Correct.
Like you were saying, confidence.
Yeah.
Confidence is the key that unlocks anything and everything in life. And soft skills and confidence kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah.
So he sort of gave me this mirror that if you have soft skills, if you want to build on soft skills, the world is your league then.
Correct.
And don't confine yourself to one single building, running one particular task for someone, but rather have the courage, have the confidence to throw yourself out there and see how many doors you can unlock with that soft skills factor. And weirdly enough, I do not know that person at all. Okay, never spoken to him before whatsoever, but till date that person's this statement immediately jump started me in such a way that I was in my third year, and engineering is a 4-year degree. So it was my second last year, and I had to eventually start moving towards figuring whether I want to sit for campus placements or not, what do I want to do and all. But this one statement got me into this overdrive mode where I was like, I want to do every kind of internship now.
Right.
I want to work in a restaurant if I can. I want to learn a bit about legal if I can.
Yeah.
I want to, get my hands on finance, anything possible. Now, in that process, even if I did not land up in a finance job or in a legal job, but the kind of people that I met
Correct.
just gave me more and more insights, more and more confidence on how the world works. And then I'm like, I think marketing is that thing for me because I can talk to people, I can convince them about why you should consider, buying this or being a part of this movement. And then I sort of took this journey.
I think we have four founders on this sofa right now, right? And as founders, it's very important to not restrict yourself with one field. Of course, your line of work can be one particular field. For you, it's marketing. For us, it's finance, right? But it doesn't have to be that, okay, if there is finance only, I'll look at Excel sheet, I'll look at numbers, and that's my job. At the end of the day, when you are a founder or a co-founder for that matter, you just have to be hands-on with marketing, sales, finance, HR, whatever comes your way.
So, in fact, like this was something I was going to touch base on slightly later, but related to this point is, in fact, in my head also, I was like, yeah, मेरे पास कुछ funding नहीं है. Can I even start up a business without funding?
Right.
Right. Because this was back in like 2021 times, जहाँ पे जो VC market और startup market
It was just blowing up.
It was blowing up, and it was like the news was there कि इतना investment उठाया,
Correct.
This XYZ company out of nowhere picked up like 5 CR, and for what reason no one can understand, and like exit strategy and fancy workspaces showing expenses. Now there was one side that was like wow, like it's so easy to pick up an investment. There was another side which was like a business cannot run without an investment, like this misconception that exists at the early stage.
Right.
And then there was also a third side which was like लोग कर क्या रहे हैं पैसे के साथ, समझ ही नहीं आ रहा. Like पैसे उठाए जा रहे हैं, picking up money, but throwing it on things that really doesn't make sense from a financial standpoint. And they're like कि बस exit strategy चाहिए और expenses दिखाते जाना. And I'm like, अरे ये क्या बात हुई? Like, so in fact, like my conversation with Viraj was also about like understanding that if I have 100% equity, like starting off with 100% equity. Do I need to pick up funding in order to grow?
Yeah.
And he gave me a lot of angles that, listen, try to hold your equity for as long as possible.
Correct.
Like, because like you can scale up on your own.
Don't sell cheap, that's it.
Don't sell cheap.
Yeah.
Right? And a lot of things are just like sugar coated and fancy, which are not really needed.
This is like one conversation we also had very early on. This is actually a really important point. One of our very successful clients also said that, would you, for anybody who's watching, in fact, who gets swayed by this whole, people have picked up this much funding, people have picked up that much funding. Okay, would you rather have a business worth 100 crores where you have 100% of the business, or would you rather have a business worth 1,000 crores and you have 10% equity?
Right.
You would hope. Now, again, it's a preference matter, but for all of us sitting on this, in this podcast today, it's probably the first one, right? Because you have 100% control and you have full control of your life and how you want to live, which in turn I would argue that probably would give you a happier life, right? But the thing is, the 1,000 crore business is most probably going to be in the papers, right? Because within 2 years, 3 years, they're going to get a lot more fame, right? And that's essentially the difference we're talking about. So whenever people see the magazines, people see, all those articles about how somebody's become a unicorn. For every unicorn out there, first of all, 1,000 have failed. And secondly, for every unicorn out there, there's also a lot of SMEs who are running legitimately profitable businesses who are earning tons and tons of money, every year. And they're kings of the business. So it's a completely different life,
There's a statistic, right, which is equally applicable in Silicon Valley or in Bangalore. 9 out of 10 startups fail. And that's just what the truth is. And when people see in the papers, this XYZ company has raised funding and have scaled this much and all that, they don't see that it's actually, there are a lot of other companies that are not making it. And also there are a lot of cons that come with raising funding. You're no longer in control of your own company.
Right.
There's a lot of pressure. A lot of CEOs or startup founders go through a lot of pressure, and that's very difficult to deal with. Whereas if you're in control, you can do what you want, you can scale how much you want and go with the flow.
I think Alpha started what, 2021?
21.
We started in 2019. So this was this phase, lockdown-ish and all of that, right? Wherein paisa uthana had become a very normal thing.
Yeah.
Paisa uthao, the business bana do.
Right.
But one fundamental thing what people forget about a business, of course, you work towards a solution, you identify a problem, find a solution. All of that is fine. It's just fancy stuff, right? But what's important at the end of the day is to make money.
Right.
Is make money for your stakeholders. It could be your employees, it could be the people, your vendors, and everyone included, right? And just make money as a business, correct? That concept, ideally at that time, 2020, 21, of course, right now also we keep seeing valuations have come down, but at that time वो important ही नहीं था. बस यही था कि मुझे बस फंडिंग उठानी है, तो मेरे 6 महीने निकल जाएंगे, 6 महीने बाद वापस देखूंगा क्या है, तो फंडिंग उठा लूंगा, right? So that's when the statistic, right, which you just mentioned, 9 out of 10, it's because of that attitude within founders itself.
One more thing which people don't realize, entrepreneurship is not just about picking the right avenue and getting things right.
Okay.
It's also about saying no to things. And a lot of times that adds a lot more value. If you're saying no to the things you should be saying no to, so that you don't waste resources, don't waste time on things that you shouldn't. If you're saying no to if you just cut out the things that are going to be a drag, then that automatically means you're moving in the right direction.
Right. So in fact, when you were mentioning the options, 100 CR, 100%
Correct.
versus 1000 CR, 10%, I have another opinion to that. So although yes, most of us will go for the option of 100 CR, 100%.
Correct.
The time when I would want to switch to an option B is when I sort of hit sort of a gravestone in terms of scalability.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So even in my line of work, there are days when I would think that if I really want to scale this business up to a point where I can compete in the likes of the giants in the space,
Right.
I will have to bring in people that can open doors for me and that can, so sometimes it's not really about the money also. It's about the association with prominent people, with
Absolutely.
prominent VCs or with these stakeholders who
Correct.
can just open doors for
Doors,
you
yeah.
in terms of scalability.
Right, absolutely.
Right. So, gradually over time, how the thought process started building is don't pick up funding just because it's a fad or it's something fancy or it's good to have like a couple of extra CRs in your account. But when you reach that absolute threshold that यार इसकी beyond scalability हो ही नहीं पा रहा है मैं कितना भी try
So you
करूँ.
have to be strategic about it.
You have to be strategic
Yeah,
about it.
yeah,
okay?
correct. You have to, it has to give something for you. Something has to happen for you, and then you can pick that option.
And like I said, I personally believe that don't pick up money because just for the money factor, but pick a
Yeah.
partner who would add that
Yeah.
value, who would open doors for you
Yeah.
to allow you to scale up, because your money that you get in is going to vaporize after a while.
Correct.
But the door opening is what will eventually lead to multiplication of the money that is coming in.
Yeah.
Goes back to
That's
3
actually-
idiots, right? That don't chase the money, chase the capability. As you said, opening the doors, the money will follow.
The money will follow.
So this is actually really interesting. One more thing we wanted to speak to you about was basically you're a sole founder
Right.
in Alpha Zecus, and then we're 3 founders in BlueFort, right? So
Right.
on that front, we're very different.
Right.
Right. So we were also discussing how the pros and cons of having or being able to control your business fully by yourself and having 3 different opinions.
Right.
And I often wonder which one is, I guess. No, we're quite happy. it's good. The biggest advantage I think a co-founder gives you, at least for me, is that it removes doubt from you.
Absolutely.
And because when you're alone on your journey, like I've recently hired a personal trainer,
Right.
right? And I know everything there is to working out and diet,
Right.
but I still can't get to my goal because 1 month in, 2 months in, I'm always, am I doing the right thing or not?
Correct.
And maybe I should go back to bulking. Maybe I should go back to cutting. अरे बहुत ज़्यादा ये हो गया. So there's this trainer who now I'm working together with somebody. We're using both of our minds, right? And now
Right.
he's that guiding force which tells me, no, follow the process. We're fine. So that is something that a co-founder does for you.
Absolutely.
Which maybe when you do it alone, it might not be there.
So in fact, at the start of the conversation, we were talking about how an entrepreneur has to put on a lot of different caps, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
to be an HR, you have to be a vendor manager, you have to take care of your internal team, your external clients, and the list goes on and on and on, right?
Right.
Being a sole founder kind of puts you in that zone that all the decision trees lead up to one person,
Right.
which can get very mentally taxing at times.
Correct.
Okay, because you as a human, as an individual, can just probably focus on 2 things or 3 things at a given time,
Absolutely.
right? So if let's say there is a phase of time when I'm focusing more on building client relationships
Yeah.
or building vendor relationships, there's a very high likelihood that I might slip a little in terms of internal relationships, right? Or so on and so forth. So putting on those multiple different hats every single day for a sole
It's
founder
very difficult. Yeah.
becomes very difficult in terms of having multiple founders. At least that hat can be passed on,
Yeah.
Correct.
right? So like that is one major challenge that is there.
I think every individual, right, has their own graph in general. So for example, let's say I have my own ups and downs, Siddhant has his own ups and downs, and Sayyam has his own ups and downs. At least when we talk about BlueFort, right? Fortunately, what happens is all these ups and downs does not, most often they do not coincide. So if I am having a down, I know for a fact that I have someone to fall back on, or I have someone who's always at 100%. Correct. If I'm not at my 100% one particular day for some reason, you have people who are there. So the company is still moving forward. Similarly, I can correct for them in case they are not at their best, right?
Right.
When with a sole founder, you just have to be in that linear phase wherein you are at your best every day, no matter what you're going through, no matter what's happening surrounding, maybe family, friends, or whatever it is. You just have to be there when you enter your office. That's it. This is where you are. So I think that's a very big difference overall between the mentality of having a co-founder and being the sole founder as well.
I think there are certain pros as well, though, in the sense of being a
Yeah.
sole founder.
So
Decision making is easier.
Decision making is much easier. You don't have to sit and convince anyone. Yeah.
But because of which one of us you think decision making is the slowest?
नाम मत बोला।
comments में
Actually, coffee पीते हैं, उनका fast हो जाता है।
But
wait, like you said, कि decision making, yes, the way you want to shape up your company,
Yeah.
that's there.
You don't have to sit and convince anyone, basically, that look at it the way I'm looking at it.
Correct.
Yeah.
And see, sometimes maybe also you can, to some extent, compensate not having co-founder by
Yeah.
having a strong team around
correct.
you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right? Because if that strong team is anyways helping you pass on those hats amongst each other, it kind of like does some an equal amount of contribution as a co-founder.
Also, let's say when you started out, right? Advertising, marketing, websites, and social media and graphic design. I think that was your primary thing. Initially, then you moved on to, let's say, talent management, influencer management, and today, let's say, you have the studio, so you're into video production and all of that, right? So such kind of scaling may or may not have been possible, maybe with a co-founder,
Right.
because you are on a certain level and you're on a certain wavelength, and you're looking at your business from a certain angle. With another opinion, maybe this couldn't have happened. You could have, of course, expanded your original what you were doing, right? But different verticals and everything, it just, I mean, as I said, decision making becomes very quicker. When you have when you don't have anyone
See,
to talk to.
in all honesty, the only reason I don't have a co-founder is because I couldn't find someone who would match my wavelength. I have zero restrictions कि नहीं मुझे अकेला ही करना है, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. It's just I haven't found that right person in my domain who would match the wavelength in terms of the way I see things.
You know, honestly,
That's the only thing.
a lot of this discussion is actually in hindsight. we're saying now that there are pros and cons
Correct.
to both things, but it's also about the circumstances. When you're starting out, whether you have someone who you can work with, you don't want to have a co-founder just for the sake of it.
Correct.
You need to find someone that's good and then start off
But
together.
at that time, no, in fact, I don't know how he did it, but what I know about him at least is that first generation of entrepreneurship in his family.
Yeah.
So at that level, for example, let's say, for example, my dad's a businessman, your dad's a
Us as well,
businessman,
yeah.
right? So we've been brought up in a way that we understand how these things work, and also in case I had to do something alone, I was confident enough.
Right.
But for you taking that step, or just saying that, okay, I just don't want to do my job anymore. I'll do this, and I'm sure you must have faced a lot of questions or resistance, like "Kya kar raha hai bhai?" from your family also.
Right.
So
Yeah, this is something I think we can't relate to.
Exactly.
Because we always,
Correct.
I think, from whatever I know about your story, you didn't have a fallback option.
Right. Right.
But we all had fallback options.
Mhm.
So for us, things were always like, it's fine. If it doesn't work out, it's going to be fine. So we, even our parents were like, okay, you try this for 1-2 years. If
Correct.
it's, you can just come back to the business. And I think this is a really important point.
Right.
Everybody who wants to become an entrepreneur, founder. You have to be a little smart with circumstances. You have to
Correct.
know what your skill is, and you have to know what is happening around you.
Right.
ठीक है, following your dream is fine, but be a little practical as well. Like what you said, what we have is a skill, right?
Right.
I know financial planning or finance, digital marketing or
Right.
marketing in general, and that is not a skill that we can lose very easily. So if it doesn't work out for us, we can still go and work somewhere and still use our skill, right? It's a
Right.
service at the end of the day. But I know people who are sitting on a dream. Let's say that I want to start a jewelry brand. And आपको कुछ पता ही नहीं है jewelry के बारे में. You don't know very much about, and plus the circumstances, let's say, are not, very conducive to starting something like that. So
Right.
everybody has a dream of making a business, fine. But I think that second level of thinking or critical thinking, whatever you want to call it, is essential. It's something that we all must sort of listen to.
In fact, like one fun example, there's this digital creator who recently published a video. I would name the creator, but he published a video that an upcoming business in that people can explore is starting a studio space.
okay,
It's taking rounds on the internet right now. He's I'm forgetting his name also. So do you remember his name? Okay. So this guy, he basically gives out business advice to people that what is the next business that you should be looking at or potentially
Correct,
investing in.
Actually, ऐसे बहुत लोग हैं यार.
मुझे नहीं पता है.
There's a bald guy, popular Indian businessman, someone. But any which ways, so this guy, he put up a video very recently saying that content creation is big and you should consider setting up a studio.
Yeah.
There are honestly quite a few people that put out videos like that.
Like
This
that,
is the
right.
next big thing. This is the next big
Three
thing.
new businesses you can start to make.
Yeah, correct. ऐसे बहुत है
अब
videos.
इसमें क्या है, he is sharing this today, okay? And
हाँ.
I happen to a couple of my friends reshared this with me, and they're
Yeah.
like, smart, तूने तो already कर
चुका
दिया,
है.
studio बैठा दिया है. Now my response to them was also कि यार ये insight है ना, technically जिसको read करना था ये 1 साल पहले read कर सकता था ये insight.
correct.
अगर उसने dig in किया होता तो,
Right.
right? Now you imagine if this content creator is sharing this piece of information, it's because it's already late.
correct.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah.
If it was fresh,
Yeah.
he would not be sharing it with people.
Then you would not
Absolutely.
get engagement only because
He would
people
not-
would be like, what are you on about?
Correct.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
technically, he's already late,
Yeah.
and that's why he's willing to openly share this piece of information.
Right.
Right. And people who, if they actually digressed through the insights a year ago, which is exactly what I did, is when I'd already started building
Correct.
the studio space. So
Right.
just trying to condense it to the point कि business चालू करना है, great, be an entrepreneur, right?
Right.
It's not just about market size इतना है, उसका 1% capture करेंगे, ये हो जाएगा, ये वो.
That
It's
is
not that.
such surface level thinking. And secondly, you have to be true to yourself. Yeah. Like, I mean, one of these videos say that, okay, one skill you can learn to make a side hustle is video editing, for example. Now, Viraj and I can barely open a laptop. Like, genuinely, today we were talking in office that who will open the laptop first. Because we hate, it's not that we don't want to work, we just don't like using
I
tech very much. We're not
absolutely
tech people,
Uh-huh.
So if I go and find, try and make that side hustle, by learning how to video edit, I'm going to be miserable.
Right.
So these ideas sound really good, but there's so many variables, to go into that critical thinking, which is why that first point that you were saying, the best investment. In fact, you were saying how you had this. You met somebody initially, and they gave you this insight that you have good soft skills.
Right.
वैसे मेरा एक moment था where I was watching some video, and some very famous fund manager, very very large investor, he said the biggest investment you can make is actually an investment in psychology.
Right.
That is probably if you want to read any books, forget finance, read about psychology, right? And when you read about psychology, you start understanding these things, and you start understanding second level, critical thinking. And for anybody watching also, I tell everybody, all my employees, and I tell everybody I know, read as much as you can get your hands on, read psychology books,
Right.
because that will help you in life a lot.
Coming to your industry as well, you've chosen gaming, you've chosen influencers within the gaming side of it, brands within the game, into the tech and gaming space. So, I mean, could you just elaborate more on that and just probably because I'm a noob in the gaming
All of
term.
us are noobs.
If we talk about me understanding these concepts,
I've not played after GTA. I don't think I've played GTA 5 के बाद तो कभी
again,
touch
we're all
नहीं किया
noobs, honestly.
कभी. Gaming is
Gaming, it's surprising that gaming is actually bigger than the movie and music industry combined.
True.
And yet it's seen as a very niche thing कि एक certain type of people only do it, but we all watch movies, we all listen to music, and gaming is bigger than that. In the US at least, in the West. India mein, I'm
So actually,
guessing we're
India
getting
may
that.
be here. I'll tell you why. Because people like us are not seeing the next generation of humans that are coming into place, right?
Yeah.
See, we are all people who are millennials.
Right.
We have crossed 25, about to hit 30. We don't realize that there is an entire new generation that has crossed that 15, 16 years benchmark. Like technically we are an older generation now.
Of course, yeah.
We are an older independent generation. There's a newer independent generation that's already come into place, correct? Now, the kind of lifestyle that these guys live, or the kind of content that they consume, the food they eat, the tech that they consume is very different from what we do.
Right.
Okay. Let's say if we say that things like sneaker culture, streetwear culture is a thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, maybe to a lot of us, spending let's say 50,000 rupee on a pair of shoes might not make sense. Okay.
That's absurd.
But for our next generation, it's an aspirational value. Okay. Maybe for us, the aspirational value is that we want to own a Rolex, or we want to drive a Lamborghini or whatever.
Yeah.
The aspirational value of your next generation is very different. It's
Yeah.
maybe not the same.
Yeah.
Right? So the thing is that your newer generation that has come in, the way they consume content, you will be surprised that let's say we are the first generation that got introduced to Netflix and OTT platforms and all. And for us, that was like a breakthrough innovation in content.
Yeah.
Right? We introduced it to our parents and our grandparents. For them, it's still a gray area. Like, thoda samajh aata hai, thoda nahi aata hai. Half of them still stick to cable TV.
Tata Sky, yeah.
And others are sort of slightly exploring what it is.
Yeah.
For the newer, like the generation after us, for them, Netflix and OTT is actually lesser as compared to gaming as a form of content consumption. Okay. To them, we are that Netflix to our parents. कि हम लोग अभी भी like, so what I mean is our parents
Understood,
are half
yeah.
OTT and half cable TV. For the generation below us, they think that we are half OTT and half gaming.
Correct.
Whereas for them, things like gaming and all is primary.
It's mainstream. That's the
It's
main
mainstream.
content. Yeah.
So honestly,
Still imagine what they think of us, yeah.
We
Imagine like
when we were growing up, Aju Baju, Shah Rukh Khan, Leonardo DiCaprio, that was the thing. Okay, these are the guys, you may like them, kind of a thing. Now it's Carrie Minati, another YouTube, Mr. Beast. We look at these YouTubers and these people are growing up with them. Correct,
Ashish
Bhuvan Bam.
Chalani, all these
For
things.
them, it's basically their aspirational there. Because see, we also used to play a lot. Yeah, we used to go to those, at our time, of course, there were cyber cafes and all that. We used to go play CS and all that. But if you tell me you're probably earning lakhs out of it, someday. I wouldn't have believed it then, honestly. Right? So that's how things are, starting to pick up, especially in the gaming industry.
Like you mentioned Mr. Beast.
Right.
And he is absolutely humongous, now.
You know how old he is?
He's very young, probably younger than me, yeah.
Yes.
Late 20s, I think he is.
I think he's somewhere around 24, 25, right?
Wow.
He's only 24, 25.
That's unreal.
And I was just thinking about how has this guy become so huge. But then I went back to my childhood, when all of us were playing with cars and crashing them and, we're doing all sorts of things. And all he's done that is taken that to a very large and ridiculous scale.
Reality.
And somewhere down the line, we still have that child.
Right.
How would it be to just crash a train into a wall? How would it be to crash like a car into this? We all did that, and he's making that a reality.
Right.
Which is why everybody is watching it.
He's playing Hot Wheels in real life.
Exactly. Yeah. He's playing Hot Wheels or whatever. Every fantasy that I, as a mate, as a kid had, he's basically making it come true. And even somebody like me who's 31 years old now is watching him and just thinking, wow, what a this and making he's worth billions now. I think it's crazy.
He from each video he ends up generating on an average around 1.2 to 1.5 million dollars.
Yeah, it's nuts. Who would have thought you could just make money doing anything?
So we use a term called as social currency.
Correct. Yeah.
So social currency is you guys being finance guys, gold or cash is a tangible form of currency.
Correct. Yeah.
Right? A new form of currency, which is social currency, is essentially the likes, comments, shares that you want, you aspire.
Right.
There's a very simple correlation. If let's say it's him and me, let's say if I aspire to have 1 lakh rupees in my bank account by the end of this month, he is aspiring to have 10,000 likes on his post by the end of this month.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. It is a form of currency for him.
Correct.
And why do I need 1 lakh rupees? Number one, probably to live a better lifestyle.
Correct.
Or to have a better social status.
Yeah.
Right. Exact same.
This also translates into the traditional currency over time.
Exactly.
If you can monetize
it. This is also a newer sort of a perceptive currency that exists, which is social currency, which and all of us on the internet, all of us are trying to fight for that social currency.
Right.
It's the same thing as thinking that there is a reserve, कोई भी पैसे छाप नहीं सकता है, पैसे circulate होता है, right? It's the same thing with social currency.
Exactly.
If there is an audience member, he can only give his attention, he has, let's say, 24 hours in a day, and he can give 3 hours towards content consumption. Right? Now it's up to him he probably gives 10 minutes to Viraj, 5 minutes to you, 7 minutes to me, 40 minutes to him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
Which is the same as currency, right? I decide कि मुझे cash इसको इतना देना है, इसको इतना देना है, उसको इतना देना है. All of us, all 4 of us are fighting to increase our share with him.
Correct.
कि तू इसको 40 मत देख, तू मेरा increase कर, तू मुझे 35 दिखने लग जा और इसका कम कर. Right.
Have you seen Black Mirror?
Yeah.
Have you guys seen? There's one episode where
I know what you're talking about.
where they based off of every interaction, they're basically giving each other ratings.
Exactly.
Have you seen that episode?
Social score.
So even if you're social score basically, so if you are buying, let's say, a coffee at Starbucks, this person who's selling the coffee will also give you a rating, and then the person buying will also give each other a rating. I think some 5 stars or something it was.
Right.
And then whoever has, if your rating goes down, then you just can't access a lot of things in society anymore. So if you're rating, let's say 3, then it's almost like you cannot access loans anymore. You cannot stay in a certain area anymore. So that whole episode was only about this social. Obviously, they've amplified it to what you're saying, but it's crazy how our society is moving towards that.
And if you wrap all this down, when do you call a person rich or wealthy in traditional terms is when he has a lot of money. Right? On the other hand, a person who holds a lot of social currency is called as an influencer.
Correct.
Yeah. It was Netflix, right? I believe, which said that their biggest competition is sleep. Is other form of entertainment. If they can keep you awake at night watching their episodes, then that's actually
I
better for them. rather
Yeah,
than
so
if they
same
sleep.
thing, like even your Zomato and Swiggy, their biggest competition is homemade food.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
राइट वो तो वो साइकी फिर वैसा होने लग जाता है कि your competition is traditional habits,
Right.
right? Like in that sense. But yeah, like
What's also interesting is the evolution of social media itself.
Mhm.
How like years ago it was MySpace and Facebook, which were primarily text-based platforms.
right,
Orkut as well, text-based.
That was my first.
yeah.
That then moved to Instagram, which
Right.
was image-based, right? So that it became a lot more visual, and that's now moved to TikTok and Instagram Reels and things like that, which is video.
Right.
Because that allows people to consume a lot more content within that 10-15 seconds rather than reading like a long paragraph or anything.
And also जो ये मैंने पहले भी highlight किया, your digital content creation is a form of expression. Okay, you as a human can express yourself 100 times better if you use all your senses, right? If you
Absolutely.
talk, if you hear, if you taste, if you smell, all of that. So तुम खुद सोचो कि having a conversation over text versus having a conversation over a video call,
Yeah,
massive difference in impact.
Massive.
Right? So it's not just engagement and all. The idea is that it's a form of expression, and video is the closest you can get to talking to a person face to face.
Right.
Correct.
So that's where that, and like ये जो भी मैं social currency and all also का बोला is because I understand the podcast is more about finance, but I just wanted to share this thing with you कि how social currency is a new token in the
Correct.
market.
Correct. Yeah.
And it matters so much as a transaction between people that ये ले social currency, मेरे को दे social currency.
Right.
But at BlueFort also, what you mentioned about social currency. Now, of course, everything translates from an intention point of view to real currency. And what we are also facing some challenges in terms of, explaining to, let's say, the newer generation or millennials who have got a lot of cash in hand, because let's say from influencing in general and, just being out there. But for them to kind of save, invest, and that's a whole new ball game. Like, let's say for you, if I had to convince you to save or invest, that would not be that tough. But if there's a 20-year-old guy and to tell him that, you've got some money in your account, might as well do something other than splurging. So then, like, what the hell are you talking about?
Right. So in
So-
fact, I was going to ask this to you guys. So, see, like since we happen to work with a lot of digital content creators or content creators, content creators are more or less very similar to any other sports person, any other celebrity in terms of their, you have like a stage life and you have a personal life, right?
Correct.
All the best wishes for the person to live the longest, healthiest life.
Right.
But stage life, there are very, very few lucky people that are able to exceed, a 35 years benchmark
Yeah.
in terms of staying relevant. Like
The age of 35.
age of 35, yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, even if you take sports people, for example, right? 35 is the absolute limit in almost all forms of sport,
Correct.
where after that, you can't be playing anymore, right?
Correct.
You won't be fit anymore to be there.
Right.
And so, I mean, the question that I wanted to, or sort of the advice I would want you to share with a lot of people is that number one, people don't have this realization that there is a certain stage life or shelf life that exists. And there have been a lot of instances around me where people generate considerable amount of wealth in a short amount of time.
Correct.
And for a lot of them, it's new, right? Having that kind of wealth showcasing in their bank account is new.
Right.
It's fascinating.
Right.
And for a lot of them, the next step is to let me fulfill the dreams that I've always dreamt of, right? Sometimes yes, the dreams are positive. Sometimes it's not very critical,
Correct.
and that's why financial knowledge is necessary. Right.
I think it comes from a mindset, honestly. You see, age as a barrier has gone away. Now there is no excuse for a 20-year-old to not save or invest, considering if he or she, right, has been earning through some kind of creation themselves, right? They see around on social media, there is all kinds of advice. Even if you do a bad advice, at least you're doing something. right? So from a mindset point of view, it's very important to kind of budget your income in a way that, okay, you want to spend something, okay, this is that amount, but at least 20%, at least 25%, maybe on a monthly basis, maybe once a year, maybe twice a year, right? You keep it a habit that jitna aap kuch khareed rahe ho, utna main itna save bhi kar raha hu, right? You want to buy the sneaker culture, you get into that, get expensive shoes for yourself, no problem, right? But at the end of the day, make a target that quarterly, okay, this is what I want to be saving. It could be probably keeping it in your bank, FD or whatever, just save, right? Not an advice, but just do that bare minimum if you have to. But it shouldn't be like, okay, you're living on a paycheck to paycheck that, okay, I've got a few lakhs right now, next month I'm expecting another few lakhs, so this is the time to let it all go, right? So that mindset when it changes, because we've seen generally it happens after 25, 27, 28.
But the question is how to get them to change the mindset, no? Because like at least my interaction, we have some clients who are influencers. I've also met a few actors and maybe a couple of singers as well. Now over there, all of them, the problem remains the same, right? The shelf life is very small, but I think it's the fear of the unknown. They basically don't know, even if they are willing to invest, because they have absolutely no knowledge of finance. They would rather not do anything with their money or spend it rather than trust us with it.
So I'll give an add-on also to this. Yeah. Another fear that exists is people are scared to lock in their money.
Correct.
People want liquidity.
Right.
And I kind of understand, like when I also started off with investing, I had this constant fear in my head that what if I need this money tomorrow? Okay. And if it's getting locked for whatever X period of time, what if I need it tomorrow, then I'm in a fix.
Correct.
That's where, like you guys stepped in and you made a very good portfolio in terms of, have some liquidity, have some money going in debt, fix this, fix that. And, you're sort of created this entire chart of, what are your aspirations for the next couple of years?
Correct.
Where do you see money going? These are some emergency funds.
Correct.
We keep this, we keep that. I think one of the biggest, this knowledge gap that exists is because people think that यार मेरे को liquidity चाहिए है.
Yeah.
And इसलिए मैं invest नहीं करूँगा. कल मुझे पैसे लगे तो मैं क्या करूँगा? मेरा तो पैसा. And that's because the kind of portfolio management that you guys do.
Correct.
Mix of SIPs, mutual funds, everything. Most of us have been brought up in a scenario of FDs.
Right.
My parents.
I think Rohit was in PMC, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
PMC
Still in PMC.
Still.
You don't have an option of not bringing it.
You don't have FD there or like a savings FD over there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Considerable. So the thing is, like if I were to just talk about our parents and grandparents, we have been brought up in a scenario where it was FDs and gold.
Right.
Okay. If you want liquidity, shut up and get gold. If you want like stable growth in your principal, go for an FD. And FD में एक perception रहता था यार 2 साल लॉक हो गया 3 साल लॉक हो गया उसको अभी मत देखो. Like we were taught to think about that money के वो भूल जाओ कि उधर डाल दिया वैसा. So unless people like y'all stepped in, which is again like I think y'all will be in a better position, but mutual funds got popularized in less than like 5-6 years.
That is true.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's when like we were probably just getting out of college and all. हमें थोड़ा ये समझ आया. Even right now, if I were to tell my like my grandparents and all, they'll be like, shut up, don't do all of this. FD gold, like the 2 standard tools, right? So all in all, the greatest thing is addressing the fact that investing does not mean your money is completely locked.
Correct.
And inaccessible, which is something that we have been conditioned.
Yeah.
But when you sit with a portfolio manager, and you talk to them genuinely, that listen, like even if you tell them genuinely that listen, I want to keep 1 lakh rupees aside because I want to do reckless spending,
Right.
tell them that you want
Correct.
to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
Be honest. Be upfront.
Be honest.
Yes.
You tell them you want to do that,
Right.
and then they'll be like, "Okay, we will put this money in a place where tomorrow also if you want to do, you want to go to Dubai and start shopping randomly, it's fine. You can do
I
it."
remember we first sat in a coffee shop only,
Correct.
and he'd done everything, which we have to correct. For example, I think there were 50, 40, 45, 50 odd stocks
Okay.
in his portfolio, if I'm not wrong, right?
Yes, yes.
Then there are, of course, these FDs, PMC and everything, and I'm just like, what are you
What are you
doing?
doing?
Just, he was one of the only ones, maybe you just let it all go at once. Like,
Yeah.
bola hai to bas baat khatam.
I think that's a very important point to answer your earlier question, that how do you change that mindset? I think the only way to do it for people who don't really have that background is baby steps. तुम start करो. You're starting off with an SIP of 5-10,000 also, that's fine. But at least you start, right? As you gain comfort, that will increase automatically. You can do very small proportions, save first, and spend on whatever you want. But when you start seeing that you're getting returns or you're getting some safety over here, then अपने आप ही वो मन करेगा increase करने का. Right? So
And
just start.
one more advice I would give anybody who is, let's say, an influencer or somebody who doesn't understand finance, or seems, work with somebody you actually feel connected to a certain extent, right? Because this whole finance thing, typically people still have that impression that some guy comes in a shirt and a pant and from a bank and explains this product, and oh god, I will not understand anything. So then how will I ask some questions? How will I feel comfortable at all? Things have changed completely. Like, there's in India, there are in every, I think, street you will find wealth managers, people who are genuinely educationally qualified and who are extremely smart and young and passionate and driven, and who will actually work with you for the next 10 years. Right? Find somebody who will be there in terms of longevity. Right? Don't work with some employee of a bank where after 6 months they change, and after 6 months somebody else comes over there. Right? Work with somebody you have some sort of vibe with. Okay, even if you don't understand the
It's
product,
communication. Work
Yeah.
with someone who you can communicate everything. You want, as you said, you want to spend 1 lakh rupees, you spend it.
Correct.
You communicate with the person कि मुझे ये time पे बस इतने
so
एक
they
lakh
should feel,
रुपए.
that's what I'm saying, they should feel comfortable
Comfortable.
communicating
Correct.
that I need to buy. See, imagine telling somebody that I want to buy 1 lakh of sneakers. Okay, imagine the judgment from the bank employee.
Exactly. And this is that judgment
That
factor,
raise,
right?
that eyebrow raise ना, and immediately will be like, नहीं मुझे इसके साथ काम नहीं करना है. And
That's
that's a
actually
big
be like
problem.
1 lakh के जूते आते हैं.
But that mindset point which I mentioned earlier, the reason is that, let's say I'm working with a footballer from ISL, right? And through him I've spoken to a few other footballers as well, right? Good salaries, great space, young people, but no background of finance, right? But as an artist or as a sports person, it's your mindset when you think, right, that okay, you're 20, maybe 15 years down the line, you're going to be irrelevant. They don't understand that.
No.
So firstly, it's very, very essential to understand that, okay, I have these 10, 15 years where I can make the maximum money I can, and I can make the best out of it. What happens is by the time they're 27, 28, 29, that's when they realize, right, and they're already at the fag end, or let's say the last stage of their career maybe, right? So that's where the mindset, what I mentioned, is too important, because अगर वो आप सोचोगे ही नहीं, considering वो stage life आपकी 15 साल की है, अगर वो पहले नहीं आता है 5 सालों में, you're going to lose out on tons and tons of money, potential money you could have made.
Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson, exactly.
If that guy can go bankrupt, anyone can.
Genuine, right?
And the opposite, Michael Jordan. At such a young age,
Yeah. Two
Struck the perfect deal.
Yes,
opposing
absolutely.
examples.
Michael's
Michael's a billionaire now.
So I want to ask you guys a question, and I don't know how this can be tackled, but there also exists a perception that generally कोई कुछ advice अगर दे रहा है, उसमें उसका क्या फायदा हो रहा है? Like now, let's say for example, if I'm coming to you and you are suggesting certain portfolios, you're suggesting certain areas where I should invest. One of the primary questions that involuntarily comes in the head is कि इसका इसके साथ tie up होगा और इसका कुछ तो personal
Conflict
फायदा
of
होगा,
interest, correct.
इसलिए ये मुझे इसके बारे में push कर रहा है या बोल रहा है.
Correct.
Right. So another big knowledge sharing area, which I think, and you guys can really just address this, is see, now when we talk about like financial institutions like banks and all,
Right.
तब बहुत ही straightforward होता है यार कि the reason it's being pushed, this particular scheme is being pushed
कुछ
towards
commission
you,
है.
Correct.
is because
Absolutely
there is an underlying agenda.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
But in case of you guys, you all work with like tens and thousands of different houses and
Right.
portfolio managers and everything. So then, how is it that you guys can build confidence with the audience that it is like the portfolio that is being built for you is not on the basis of हमें इसमें highest commission मिल रहा है, but
Right.
because it makes sense for you.
That's actually a really good point. And first thing I want to tell, like somebody from your space listening, is that firstly you ask. Okay, because most people, especially from this space, are not asking. Okay, I have, like I said, we're working with a couple of influencers and all of that, and I see very different, patterns of questions versus like somebody who's a lawyer or somebody who's a businessman. वो सीधे पूछ लेते हैं कि क्या है तुम्हारा, क्या नहीं है, and then we show them, and it's all a yes or no. But these guys are a little hesitant to ask, right? Because maybe they just don't know. So first thing you have to ask the guy who's advising you, where do you get your money from, right? Fortunately, in India, things have become very transparent, right? It's no more, we don't live in that wild west anymore कि मैंने आपको कोई product बेचा है and I get my upfront commission and now I don't give a shit about what happens to your portfolio. Those that used to be the case about 5 years ago, 10 years ago, especially in something like mutual funds, where even Dhoni and Sachin are coming on and saying that okay, you can invest in this is fine, right? So certain amount of credibility has been made. Right. Now, a good advisor सामने से आपको आके बता देगा कि this is exactly how I'm making my money. Even if you don't ask, typically somebody should be able to tell you that this is how we're making our money, right? With documentary evidence, if required, that you get monthly statements, something that is called an NSDL or CDSL statement, right? You must have also gotten that in your email ID. That is a statement sent by the government to you, saying that these are the commissions or this is the management fee that your distributor or your advisor is getting for recommending these mutual funds to you. So nothing is, things have changed a lot from what they used to be 5 years ago, from what our parents' generation is to things are right now, right? And that wall of opaqueness can be cleared by that simple discussion to be had, right? So that discussion is something that I would encourage, first of all, everybody to have.
I think what stage you're at now. So, for example, the people we are talking about, let's say 20 years old, 24 years old. Now, it's a phenomenon that people know. It's a general thing that people know that let's say we are earning maybe 1% out of whatever investments we are recommending. For example, now the person who we are helping to reach from 0 to 1 crore, right? For him to think about cost or him or her to think about cost is not ideal. For them, the idea should be no matter what, I should reach that number, right? There may be mistakes made on the way. I'm not talking about BlueFort in general, right? You go through a bank, you go through some other advisor. The idea is to reach there. A person who is reaching from 100 to 200 crores, then after, let's say, when they're 50, 55, 60, then wondering about cost is a valid option. Is a valid thinking, right? कि चलो ठीक है, इतने सारे पैसे तो 1% भी बहुत ज़्यादा उनको लगे, तो fair enough. But for someone who is just starting out, right, the value add which the advisors will provide to you by helping you reach that first crore or helping you reach the first 5 crores, right, is nowhere related to maybe what they are, the concept.
Yeah, that's a good point. So it's like if, for example, if you start a business, आपने Alpha Seekers चालू किया, and you're 6 months in, already you've barely got your first couple of clients, and you're having discussions with the team how to scale. How should we scale this business? So these are discussions that you need to be having maybe after 3 years, after 4 years, after. So I'm not saying cost is not a discussion to be had. Of course, you should. But what's happening because of recent, let's say, app, there's a lot of apps out there, right, who are focusing on only cost as the primary source of, cutting this. So there are certain conversations you should have at certain times, right? And of course, everything's, like I said, it's quite transparent, it's out in the open. But we're a little smart about it, prioritize at what point in time what is important for you.
Right.
You don't want to end up being penny wise, pound foolish, where you're focusing obsessively on small things that matter, but you shouldn't spend, too much time on it,
Right.
where it doesn't really add that much value.
So, this thing that you had said now, like you start small, you start off with 5K, 10K SIPs. Funny question, how do you deal with people who come with the mentality that go big or go home? Like,
See, generally,
Correct.
and generally those clients are actually more difficult because they go big and then few months later they'll go home. And those clients, they if they're starting off, they're investing a big amount today, but product nahi samjhe, they're not interested in the risk return aspect or self return dekh rahe hain, right? Those are the ones most likely to take their money out after 6 months, after 1 year. And we frankly prefer someone that starts off small and scales up over time. Because it's a much easier client for us as well, who understands and gradually build it up because then they're serious about it.
Makes sense.
See, go big or go home, I think, is a principle that can be applied to literally any walk of life, right? Any, you can take any example, you can say, ki, oh, in this I want to go big or go home. And I think inherently as a species, we understand that this go big or go home comes with a low probability.
Correct.
Go big or go home comes with a higher risk and lower probability of success.
Right.
Investments is the same thing, right? You can strive to get your 100% return, to, whatever 50% return and all of that. There's a very, very high possibility you will lose all your money.
Right.
So it's as simple as that, right? And we also inherently know as a species, literally, this is evolutionary, literally, that consistent improvements, right? Small consistent improvements make for a very, very large sort of result or impact years down the line. And investing is also the same thing. So I tell people that you have your experience, it's fine. You want to trade in options, that's fine. You want to trade in all sorts of things, that's fine, right? Be smart about it. Put a limited amount. आपको जो करना है आप करो, because you'll soon enough realize that the earlier you have that consistent compounding mentality, probably the better off you are. Right? And unfortunately, everybody thinks about becoming a quick billionaire now because that's what social media sells.
Right.
But it's just not.
I think it's too much finance for an episode where we're not talking about finance. I think Rohit, you should maybe just help us with understanding as to where do you think marketing and advertising is heading now, and just take us through it, what your thought process is regarding that.
So interestingly, there's a saying in marketing which is until the last product exists on the face of the earth, there will be marketing. Right? People sell you a bottle of water, something that is technically a commodity that's free. Like you could go by a river, drink, and you are not supposed to pay for it, right? But you have the ability to put it in a bottle and sell it to someone. It's not the product that is selling, it's the marketing that's selling.
I bought a bottle of water in Iceland and that was the dumbest thing. I felt so stupid afterwards. Because somebody came to us and said, what are you doing? Why are you buying this? It's literally from the river, right?
It's from the river, so you're not selling the product, you're selling marketing. Right. So, marketing as an ecosystem, it's based so much on these, again, original point, based on psychology, based on insights, based on understanding human behavior, that, my greatest motivation to wake up every day and be in this space is because I know I will learn something new about how people can surprise you and how, the knowledge that you think you have had so far is not really the absolute right knowledge.
I think thanks a lot for giving us your time. This was really insightful. I hope we had a good exchange of ideas and we definitely learned a little about gaming and tech.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for having
me. And we'll do this again soon, I hope.
Absolutely.